So it's an oddly appropriate song, especially if you understand the real theme behind what they were going for when they did it. Uh, I'll actually go ahead and go with one of you guys said that the music was just too distracting, so I'm going to go ahead and turn all the way back. So it's time for me to put some stuff out there about magic versus technology. There's been a long conversation going on. This is a very Shaintar heavy Big Irish vlog today, so if you're not following on mostly for Shaintar reasons, this one you can probably ignore. Unless you just like the idea of discussion of magic in or technology in a sci-fi or science fiction-y stuff in a fantasy setting, because that's what this is. Although it's very focused on Shaintar and the world of Starfall. Didn't really. There's a thing going on. A guy proposing something called the cognition. That's his working title for it, and we've been doing a lot of back and forth with Stephen on how best to fit it in. He really wanted to do it as part of the whole Southern Kingdoms thing, and on my big kick of want to say yes to everything, I was trying to figure out ways to make it work. But my flock, as the guys are called, the group is called the Ravens flock. They're really backstopping me, not only just with Justice in Life, but in general, continuity-wise. I mean, they're really helping me protect me from myself, where a lot of this stuff is concerned. And they brought up some really valid points. So, Stephen, I apologize. I kind of have to make an example in this situation, but hopefully you will understand as well as everybody else. But it is about a matter of the integrity of the setting. And it finally got me to put some down on paper, some stuff that's been floating in my head forever. Right? It's there, but I'm committing it to electrons in this case. But here we go. This is how this all kind of works in the world of Starfall and in Shaintar. The whole planet is a giant magic. I've got this all written down. The whole planet is a giant magic battery, thanks to the crystarium that runs through the crust, from the core to the outside. It's just this crystarium, which is this mystical ore. It's endemic to the whole planet. The planet becomes this giant mystical battery, essentially. It's magic as embodied by substance. And this makes creating things a very personal experience. This is easily seen in the heirloom and the soul bond edges, but it also applies to all kinds of things, through crafting and creation. And this is why the Dwarven Rite stuff is what it is and the way it works the way it does. Certain singular and limited techie things of an advanced nature can work because the crafter, and possibly a small team of people helping them, they put some spiritual energy into the process, as well as their hard and very challenging work. Without such energies involved, the ambient mystical radiation of the planet breaks down really advanced metalworking. That would be my mom, but I'll get back to her later. So without the energies, like I was saying, the ambient mystical radiation, the ambient mystical radiation basically breaks things down that are really advanced metalworking, like springs, clockworks, and such, really rapidly. And again, this gets at the metal. Really is the most important thing. But for those of you looking for trying to find ways to game around this, don't, because you'll be violating the spirit. Metal's one thing. There's other reasons too. This is not an observable or manageable resource or asset kind of thing, except maybe the builders, which is kind of what makes them special on the planet of Starfall. The makers, which is their top level people, have a special capacity for seeing and harnessing the personal energy aspects of creation, which allows a very limited approach to mass production, though nowhere near as assembly line or Henry Ford as you might be thinking. Dwarves, side note, Chris, I know, but dwarves, sorry, they were there before you were. They have an inherently stronger connection to an inherently stronger understanding of these principles than most, which is why they're the lore wardens. They know all the deep secrets. They understand this better than anybody else. This is why they get access to the right images, the right edges, right being WRIGH2. For example, a dwarf can craft a working clock with highly intricate gears and other workings. This one-off piece of beautiful engineering works and doesn't fall apart because a sliver of his very essence is put into it. It's not like it drained him and he's less for it, though. I mean, that energy replenishes just like essence / power points replenish after you use them. But it just means that there's a way that it has spiritual strength from that crafting. Rare non-dwarven folk can also potentially learn how to do this kind of stuff too. But again, it's one at a time and special things. Any attempt at manufacturing clocks would produce soulless, highly worked items that degrade rapidly. The metal fatigues and warps, and it all falls to crap rapidly as the ambient crystarium radiation tears it apart at the molecular level. Core was onto something, you see. Core, the guy who did the whole Corinthian thing. He always understood that the more worked the metal, the more soulless it became, and thus it became useless or dangerous for both. He just took a very extreme approach to dealing with it. Another example. A single steam engine machine crafted by a master wright and a small team of loyal and dedicated assistants can work beautifully, but even it needs constant attention and maintenance by true craftsman engineers, or it dies. Arcmancy has the effect of retaining the energies within a device against degradation, but even arc fire machinery it's got to have constant attention. It's got to be maintained and worked with. And it also needs a constant source of the extremely rare and expensive chrysolites to keep working. That energy's got to flow in from the chrysolites, or it won't work, and eventually it'll fall apart. Now, so the destruction of the Eternity Spiral, which was basically a giant crystarium antenna that the Starfather used to turn Starfall into effectively a broadcast energy source. And he broadcast magical energy across his little, what we call, the tentative name was called the Crystalverse. I don't know. It was just something I wrote down a long time ago and I haven't changed it. But, imagine something like Joss Whedon's version of the verse, a small, limited, interplanetary thing that was all connected through this projected power that was this gargantuan antenna called the Eternity Spiral. When he destroyed that was some raw, crazy, magical cataclysm stuff going on. And it has created pockets all around Starfall that cut off certain places from the ambient magical radiation. In other words, you've got this cloud of it around it, and that creates this null zone. I don't know what we're actually going to call it, because that's something I still haven't put the right word for. But essentially, this is what would allow certain places to become a lot more technologically advanced, not science fiction level or even 20th century level, but early industrial revolution-ish, maybe, very steampunky. Clockworks and steam engines and things like that, because they're cut off from the ambient radiation of the planet itself for whatever reason. They're warped kind of fields around them. But the problem for them is that as the veil fades, and it is slowly but surely, it's in the stage of fading, and there's also some active efforts to restore the spire, which would have a very quickly dramatic effect on that whole situation. That could open everything back up again. But the downside is for a place that is very reliant on these machines, steam-powered, mass-produced metal things, all that stuff will start falling apart. And they will go through their version of a complete and total meltdown of society kind of thing. So they're facing a kind of cataclysm as the veil fades, even though they may not even realize it. So that's essentially what's going on. That's why tech does not really work, why you don't have a major technological development in a region, in a continent or a world that has thousands and thousands of years of history. And certain social progressions, too, are kind of dependent on certain levels of technology, and without that technology or some cheesy magic equivalent, you don't have those kinds of developments either. And Shaintar is not about cheesy magic developments. It just never was. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on there. And it was time to put that out there for all of you to get and to understand. So that's a big essence of what's driving Shaintar both now and what's coming in the future. Now, again, this also probably brings up more questions and answers about the whole Arcfire thing and Arcmancy and all that. Good, because there's more to come with that. We're just going to leave it at that for now. It's a new week, new Big Irish Vlogs, but today we'll leave it on that one. And beware, cautionary tale, for what Godzilla presents.